Hello, everybody. Welcome to Trader Minute. It's great to have you aboard. I'm Carl. Thanks for tuning in this afternoon or morning, wherever you're at. And futures, the market's up a little bit right now. Let me just jump over here to stock charts. Refresh this page for you. The market's up 5.5. Here we are up there at 1801. It's been like this for a little while here. And above 1800. If it closed at this point, it would be the first close ever above 1800. There's a lot of firsts today. The futures. Someone mentioned the futures the first time above 1800. There's history's being made, and remember where you are, where you were when history was being made. Right? We're all here at Trader Minute. So uh, yeah, fun times in the market. Okay. That's right, Frank. Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for the feedback. I got a lot of feedback yesterday. Hanging with the boys. That's right, Snippa. Thanks. I got a lot of good feedback from everybody yesterday on the training. It's just one of those things in the market. You just gotta, it's the market. Things are going to come, things are going to go, and just keep looking long term, keep that positive attitude, and it makes it a lot easier mentally and physically all the way around to try to keep that longer look and keep that good attitude going forth. Okay, so yeah, thanks for the feedback, everybody. And let's go check out MRO. What's up, Craig? Down about 31 cents. It's off the lows. This is, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised for a little bit of a pullback, as it's topping the, let me scroll this up a little bit here for you. The July and August, we talked about how it's not that strong of a resistance level. Technically, it was oversold yesterday. Let's look at this in a 1 hour chart. Okay, and I want to show you the CCI now. CCI yesterday was up near 200. Well, today it's dropped well below the 200. On the 1 hour, we look at it, and I'll talk about the CCI in just here in a second. Okay, AK, and the also the money flow. Go back out here. Sorry, out to there. This is fine. Look how light the volume is. There's not a catalyst here driving it down today. After a nice run like this, you expect a little profit taking, and then that's what we're getting. And this is, to me, it's perfectly. There's nothing abnormal here, nothing to react to. It still looks good. Yeah, you're right, AK. Yeah, right down here to the 37, just under the 37.5 mark, and coming back up off of it. Yeah, Vern. Yeah, that's. I was about 11 months old when that happened. Vern, for those that are watching the recording, can't see the chat. Just JFK was shot today, in about an hour from right now. Hey, I was about 11 months old, so that just gave away my age. Okay, so MRO. There's a lot of talk about it in the room today. Really, Jeff summed it up pretty good. If you look at the comments down below the chat window there, you see what Jeff talked about it. And I'm laughing at the chat. Snippa, that's good. All right. Well, today got a lot of questions recently about the trend rider and the vibes, and one came on this morning. Are we going to continue that? We did that. We've been doing that, making trades on the trend rider and vibes in the past challenges, and we're going to continue that. What we do is we're on the first week or so of a new challenge. We got a lot of new members on board. We don't want to throw out any trades like a trend rider or a vibe, because a lot of people would get that confused as a challenge trade and run out and make it. We've had that happen in the past, and we don't. If you want to just follow the challenge, that's great. And a lot of people are just following challenge trades. That's fine. As you know, I do a top three every day. because we've always been asked by some people, hey, can we get more trades called? And other people say that's enough. The challenge is enough. And so we give a top three every day for people, just to give them some trade ideas. And starting next week, if we find some good entrances, we might make either a trend writer or a vibe entrance trade. Okay, and I'll talk about those setups here in a minute. I've had a lot of emails on it again, as well as the setups and the indicators we use and the best times to enter and stuff like that. But when we make a vibe or a trend writer entrance, maybe starting next week, and I'll put this in the notes this afternoon. It's not considered a challenge trade. It's just we're always going to put 2,000 into one of those trades, and there's the results. You can see the results for the past few months or more underneath the results tab. Well, actually, it's under the just below the trades where it says close trend writer and vibe trades, and you can see how those are performed. Now, the trade of choice practically all year long has been the vibe bull trade. It's a bullish nature of the market. Okay, but when if we make a vibe or a trend writer entrance, then it will say right in the entrance. When you get the email, when you get the text, it'll say this is a trade for the trend writer or this is a trade for the vibe. Okay, and those are not considered a challenge trade. For those of you that only want to follow the challenge trades, then don't make those trades. But those of you who are looking for other trade ideas, then you're welcome to do whatever you like there. Okay, now we have scans that we look through here at stock charts that we've created, and I'll look through those scans during the day. Again, I typed a little. I did a typo earlier on. I'm always looking at charts during the day, not just scans, to try to find the good entrances to put on a top three, the stocks that I would feel some of the better ones. Okay, and the scans, just because and we'll show you how to program the scans. Jeff did a little bit of training on it a few days ago, and if we need more, we can do it again a little bit later on, maybe next week sometime. But just because a stock pops up into the scan, like okay, I'm just reading through some of the chats here. Okay, so we're good. I'm good. Just because it pops in the scan doesn't mean it's going to make my top three. I'm going to be very picky and on the top three. And I said this earlier in the week. If I can't find three of them out there, I won't do a top three, or I do one or two, the ones that look good. Because sometimes stocks will come back and then they'll give a vibe bull signal. Just for an example, is Netflix. Uh, it's triggered a vibe bull here just yesterday. It did it last week. Another one, if I bring in the vibe, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, for a vibe bull, oops, that's too close. For a vibe bull, we want to see all the averages either rising or going down for a vibe bear, right? A vibe bear would be just the opposite. It's tough to find the downtrending stocks. They're out there, the ETF the short ETFs, the reverse ETFs. You can find those downtrending. There's some other stocks like that downtrending, but here where they're all up, and what you're looking for is a fresh move above the 7. We got the 7-day moving average, which is our black line right on there. So you could look at this, and again, there was one right here last week. There was one yesterday. Okay, but the action right through here is why we're not trusting those. This is some pretty strong technical action on the day that was it Icon or Soros? Icon, I think it was Icon, sold into this. Okay, that was the earnings announcement. Sold into a good earnings announcement. It's just been kind of slowly going up steady, but this kind of throws things off as far as those technicals go, and that's why it hasn't been in my top three. I've looked at it, but I want to let this get out of the picture. If that gets out of the picture, then I'd feel better about maybe putting it on a top three. Okay. Let's look at yesterday's top three and talk about those. Right? We had Micron and Micron. Now, for those who've been in the market this year, you probably remember the big battle between the hedge fund managers um, when over Herbalife, right? When I forget the guys. Anyways, the two big hedge fund managers. One of them was short Herbalife. One was long Herbalife. Huge war going on over it. I don't know if this was the case, but yesterday Einhorn came out. Ackman, thank you. Einhorn came out and said, "Hey, great buys in Apple and Micron. He's in both positions." Right. Well, today they got two downgrades by Bank of America and Merrill Lynch, and I don't know, it's just because they don't like Einhorn or whatever, but it kind of reminded me of that. A day after a big guy like Einhorn comes out and says that we get really positive comments here for these guys to come out and downgrade it, they got downgraded to a neutral by Bank of America and Merrill Lynch. I don't know if that was the case, but kind of interesting. But you can see the downgrades. Who's winning out? Einhorn so far. It's up 24 cents. Technically, you can't tell. You can't tell if this stock. Jay, good question. Low volume. Um, Not necessarily. It doesn't, because you can have strong volume in a downtrend and strong volume in an uptrend. Yeah, yeah, Max. This was one of my top. No, no, no. Sorry, Max. Not yet. Top three is going to come at 1 o'clock Mountain, which is 3 o'clock Eastern time. Top three at 3. Remember that one? Kind of catchy, huh? So yeah, this is really strong technical action. Just looking at the chart yesterday, like we did yesterday, right? It's a vibe bull. Now, the great thing I like about the setup, you don't always need volume on the setup, but if you can get it on a vibe bull, it even makes it a little bit stronger. And this was, a lot of this volume yesterday, and then a lot of that move yesterday came from Einhorn. But even without that, knowing that if Einhorn never would have come out, and I saw that chart, that's a great looking chart. In fact, when he came out and said that, I'm wondering if it was going to be like a Kramer effect, where it might go up a day or two and come back over. But look how strong that uptrend is. Technically, this is beautiful. And Einhorn comments, the downgrades today, not even, they're just a blip on the radar as far as an overall trend here. So this still looks good to push above 20. Okay, and one of the other ones we were looking at yesterday for the top three was Marriott. Flat, it's up 9 cents. This has not done anything to the technicals. It's still above the 7. It's a little bit of a doji there. I'd like to see a doji if I saw a doji on more of an uptick. And dojis they're not that accurate. They're kind of a sign of indecision. Sometimes it can pull back, sometimes it can keep going. Dojis aren't one of the better indicators out there as far as a candlestick pattern. All right, so that still looks fine. And the other one we did was Love. Same thing, down ever so slightly. Nothing technical here to worry about at all. It still looks fine. Now, United Airlines got an upgrade today. They got an upgrade by Goldman Sachs. All right. Okay, so let's look at Simon's Property Group. This was on earlier in the week. And yeah, a break here of 150. This holds into the close like that. Very strong signal. The volume's light, but we've got a downtrend intact. A breakdown here, it's pushing down below the 7 once again today, and the hold down in these levels would still be fine. The next support below it's down here at the 147 and a half range on this one. Yeah, I mean, that one still looks fine. BMY, yeah, good. That's a good looking chart. So this was Bristol Myers Squibbs. And let me zoom in on this. All right, so we got, as far as the vibe entrance, we got our averages rising. It's pushing up above prior resistance right up in this range at the 53. Doesn't have the volume, but again, it's a nice uptrend intact like this. You don't always need that volume. If it did on an ultra light volume, I'd be a little bit hesitant. But if you do it on a fairly average volume, this gets up to the averages basically right through this level. The last little while, the averages have been right around there, which is well on course for today. So good looking. As far as a perfect vibe bull, it's not perfect, but the odds are saying right now this is going to go higher. The only thing that's not perfect is this MACD is downtrending slightly. That's the only reason it's not a perfect looking setup. But still, I mean, if we look at FDX last night, looked at FDX last night, same, very same. It almost looks the same, that MACD, right? It's not saying it's going to go higher, and this really didn't do anything to technical. It's just pulling back slightly today, but that's the only reason it's not just a picture perfect entrance right now. But look at the trend. This trend is likely to continue more so than it is to reverse on that strong of a trend. Okay, so that's the only thing I would say about what was I just looking at? Back it up. Bristol Myers, thank you. Okay, so with the trend writer, with the vibe, other things I'm going to look for are candle patterns. If I see a good looking setup with the indicators rising, and I see a breakout like we were seeing on Bristol Myers, I'll also look see if there's any other type of patterns that are suggesting that it could go higher as well. And there's a little one here. Let me show you what I'm looking at. It's a flag pattern. All right, if you look right through here, you can see a little flag pattern right there around the $52 range. Today it's breaking out of that pattern. Okay, these flags can be pretty interesting if you want to do a little bit of math on these. Kind of an interesting take here. A couple ways to look at this. You can look at it just broke out above the 49 or the $50 range, which would put a $3 price target above this price point right here. So what you do on a flag right here, you take what you'd call a flagpole, and basically the flagpole is the distance from where it broke out, a little bit of a downtrend. Again, there's a couple ways you could measure this one because this one isn't much of a downtrend here, but from where it broke out of the latest trend, measure it. So for basically 49, it went up to about 53, so about $4 is what we're talking here on this, a little bit of a flagpole. Okay, so if you wanted to add $4 from where it's breaking out here, you're above 53, this puts it up in about the $57 range. All right, if you want to get more aggressive, you could come down into this range as well, maybe the $47 range, but I wouldn't get that aggressive. I'd put this about another $4 higher from where it's at, up into the $57 range based on that little bit of a pattern. So that's good, but watching to the close today, this sells off, it goes back below 53 today. I wouldn't put it on the top three, but right now this is a really good looking setup. Okay. All right. Let's go to Google. Yeah, Wick. I'll get to that here in a second. With Google, let me bring in the trend writer here. Its bands are fairly tight too, not as tight as Apple's, but look how tight they're getting. And when the bands get tight like this, you're expecting a jump in volatility here. The only question is which way is it going to go? Right here, I would say likely to go up, but you got to kind of let it determine that. It's come up under this level for quite a while now. Can't seem to get through it, and the kind of just weak little candle here today. And so nothing there on Google right now, but that and Apple, these are the kind of the fun ones to trade. Just look how tight those bands are. Really tight. I mentioned earlier just how quiet Apple is recently, and it's not usually this quiet and flat. So maybe there's a shift going on as far as the mentality out there in the market. I don't know, but with Apple being a more of a longer, not the cutting edge company anymore, not a growth company, and more of a maturing company. Now, ConocoPhillips is another one I've been watching here recently, looking for that breakout. And this is pretty good looking right here, because look at this uptrend that they've had. They've had a tremendous uptrend here. Now, so it's pulled back a little bit, went down into the lower band. Now, look, the lower band is held as support. Now, a lot of times when these bands hold as support and it starts going back the other direction, it'll go back to the upper band. Now, in this case, the upper band's right around this level of prior resistance right here, and again, lighter volume on this resistance level. But if this jumps up into that upper band, then it'd be a good looking signal. And the breakout potential here, you look at this little bit of a channel between 72 and 74. Breakout potential here would put this another couple dollars higher based on that little price pattern right there. But I've been watching and waiting for this one to see which way it's going to go, and that's a pretty positive sign that this thing could break to the upside. But again, I'd like to see this push up above the $74 mark, and if it's breaking out of this resistance level, a little bit of volume with it. Doesn't have to be big time, but a little volume would help break it out of those channels. The other one, channels. The other one that's been channeling a bit too, and talked about this one this morning, is Deere. John Deere. This has been channeling since July. But you got to watch this one. You got to watch this one here. Don't expect just because it's up in this upper channel that it's just going to go back down. That it's more an emotional trade than anything. And so what you got to do here is, if this breaks out, if this can hold 84 and push higher off this level, the breakout potential on a stock like this is pretty big. And we're talking, an easy $3 move right here, no problem. Probably push it up towards 90. But based on the channel itself, it's got, it would price in about $3 higher, take this up to near the $88 range. But watch for it. If it closes back below 84 today, I wouldn't trade it downside yet. It's still above the 7, but the breakout potential of the upside is there. So, but I'd watch it. These channels, when they break, they're great. But if you try to anticipate the break, it can be tough because they can come against you. Yeah, with CLDX, it did trigger a bull vibe yesterday. I don't know if I would trust it quite. No, I don't think I would have trusted it, just because not bad. It's what it's done here, based on. Let me zoom in on this. Based on a little bit of a trend that it's been in right through this level right here. Now we're locking in a higher low up here. Okay, and it pushed back up off the 7 here. Not a bad looking one. Now, as far as jumping into it here, let me bring in the trend rider. It's a nice move. Don't get me wrong, beautiful move. But right now, with this trading about $3 above the 7 right now, close to $3 above the 7, it's a little bit, from a risk reward standpoint, it's kind of out there in no man's land of this would be a chaser. It's in the upper band. It could go higher, but as it stays high like this, there's chances of some consolidation, and that could come in on it here. Okay, but yeah, it's a strong move. If I was in the trade, if I happen to be in Celdex, then I would watch it today, and if you got a nice gain, I wouldn't be opposed to taking it off. But as this comes closer to 30, is where I'd look to take a gain if I was in it. But if it just keeps closing that upper band and keeps going through 30, stay in it. I just stay in it till it closes in the upper band. Okay. Sometimes these stocks, like over here, when it got a long ways away from the 7, it just stayed out there, and that can happen. So no need to run because it's there, unless you not got a nice gain. You don't want to risk any of it, but it can keep moving like that. Okay. Yeah, Jay. Yeah, we'll see what they do here with the China Mobile deal they got uh, coming out next month. Amazon. Yeah, strong move. We talked about this one in chat. Had this one chatted into me, and same thing. We'll be looking at here, right? We got a averages rising. In shorter term here, we got the rate of change rising. If I jump out, look at the MACD. See the positive trend here in the MACD. It's down slightly overall. The trend right. If I look at it this way on the MACD, just making sure you guys can see that. The trend's still up on the MACD. A slight pullback here, but it hasn't really broken down below that trend line from the little bit of a MACD there. It's a nice move. And Amazon, they've a while back they raised expectations going into the holiday season. It could have been this little push right here, so they drove higher. They've come back, retested the support level. Here's past resistance, right? Came back, retested that, bounced up off of it yesterday, and pushing up through 370 today. It's a pretty bullish move for Amazon. I wouldn't be surprised to see it. A little bit of consolidation up here around 370, but really the odds just favor this one to go bullish. Yeah, BK. This was a top three, what, a couple days ago, I believe. And there's nothing to react to technically. If you happen to be in a trade, nothing to react to. See, it's come down, hit the sevens, coming back up. It still looks fine. I wouldn't jump out if I happen to be in a call trade on this. It's technically there's still everything's still there, saying it's likely to go higher. Okay. And then Gannett, Gannett, same thing. Um, oh, let me put something on this. Okay, so this was one of my top three. Right over on this day, when that jumped down in the lower Bollinger Band, when the bands were tight there, you can see the RSI was breaking 50. It went down the next day, and it's just been flat ever since. So what it's doing, it's just consolidating here back to the 7. Now this is what you're looking for, and I'll draw it in there for you. If you see a little candle and it starts to go like that, off of that 7 right there and comes back like that, this thing's just going to keep going. Down probably about, let's have it right here, down into that range, about the 25.5 mark, 25 and a half is where that's likely to go. If you see that right there and it gets in that lower band, you can just ride it until it stays within the band, until it closes back inside the band. But right now, technically, to me, it looks more weak than it does strong. It's just not going anywhere. And when this happens, you get that consolidation like that, and you get another move push lower. There it goes. Okay. Comcast. Yeah, nice move on Comcast today. Got a lot of volume. I'm looking to see if I wrote down some news on it. I don't have any news on it, but with that kind of volume, that kind of a breakout, typically there's news on it. So from right now with it trading $1.50 higher than the 7 right now, this is a very bullish breakout, breaking above the highs here and into the upper Bollinger Band. It can keep going, but from risk reward, I wouldn't jump into it. These giant candles like that on a day where it's setting a bull vibe or a trend rider or whatever it is, when you get these giant candles like that, to me, they'd never make a top three. We'd be chasing a little bit at that point. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Vern. Vern was saying that Comcast wants to buy Time Warner. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. I saw something on that, but I did not read it. Thank you. Okay. But if you're in the trade, watch it. It's still in the upper Bollinger Band. It may come back here. Looking at the volume levels up here at the higher amounts, around the 48, they increased a little bit up in those ranges. But if it can break, I wouldn't be surprised to see it come up a little bit higher and it come back maybe back to the 48.5. If it keeps going up above this, the next stop's probably 50. So But yeah, it's very strong looking chart. With Allstate, yeah, this is pretty good action here with Allstate. It made my top three. I know it was earlier this week. Pardon me, I don't have all that right here in front of me. It made the top three earlier in this week. It came back, pulled, went back below the 7 right here, which would have taken us out of the trade. But this is very bullish price action. See it coming back above the 7 today, trying to push a little bit higher. This closes at the highs today, and it's likely to break out of that 54.5 level and keep pushing higher. That's some pretty bullish price action there, and that's one of the things about trading. You get some really good signals. Sometimes it comes back a little bit, knocks you out, and then it keeps going. And it can be frustrating. That's part of the game. It can happen, right? Same thing happened on Schlumberger. Schlumberger, it had a great looking trend rider bear signal, and as Jeff talked about, fund managing days, these signals like that 2 days ago made some major bank on. But as far as this year, some of the best looking signals out there haven't panned out, and that's a great looking signal. It just grew some legs and is trying to push above 92 now. But if you look at this as a trend rider, I mean, as a vibe, to me, it wouldn't make the list. It's got the principles of the vibe, right? Because you got the averages rising. Hey, one thing here is you can see the MACD downtrending a little bit, but this price action right through this area, right through there, I'd need to see this get up through that level and start to break into highs before I'd consider this a good looking entrance to the upside right now. I'd want these levels right up here to be taken out of the picture, and this looking like it's going to break up through it, like we've been seeing on some of the other ones. So technically, it's a trend rider. A vibe bull. But this is one of the things that I'll look at to see if it's one that I'd rely on or not. But yeah, that's one of the trades. Good looking setup. Turned and went up against above the 7. This would be, if it closed up here, would be the day I'd be getting out. Yeah, the yen. Ouch. Yeah, whenever you look at the yen, look at the dollar. Dollar down today. Yen down today. You look at the Aussie, down today. A lot going on out there in world currencies. I used to trade currencies. And I think, AK, you asked me about the CCI, and I think that's why I like the CCI a little bit better. The money flow index is a great indicator as well. Um, but I'm just really comfortable with the CCI because I've used it a lot when I day traded. I mean, when I traded in Forex, that was a great sign that I knew that they were getting ready to turn around. If I was in a trade and I saw it reaching above a positive 200, I knew the upside wasn't going to last too much longer, although it can keep going. But it was a good looking indicator. Let me just compare those really fast. Let's go over and I'm just going to put these in here. I'm just going to take the MACD out, and I'm going to put in the commodity channel index. I'm going to add one more down here below it, and let's put in the MFI. And we can just compare them, okay? So the MFI cruising up here above 80, right? And we can see that when it gets above 80, doesn't mean where the world's going to end and it's going to come back down, because you look over here, when it got above 80, it was just a little blip on another uptrend here, right? And the next leg of an uptrend. It's approaching 80 right now. Doesn't have me worried that this is also going to fall apart on us. The trend's been too strong. The volume's been too strong. Looking at today's, nothing there. CCI, I don't know. It's just I like the 200 and the negative 200. I used to have to program those in on my software. I was using for currencies. But they're both good-looking indicators, and both going to show you extreme levels of oversold and overbought conditions. All right, so there you go. Thanks, PW. Yeah, Allstate last Thursday. I was going to bring all my notes in there like that, but they're in my office, just around the corner. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the vibe here, and the main things that we're looking for in the vibe is we want all averages to rise, and we like uptrending indicators like we're seeing here, and we're looking at MRO right now. This was not a vibe entrance, but it's got all the characteristics of a bull vibe trend, right? Because you can see the positive trending indicators right here. You can see all the averages rising. This had some volumes going into all this. Right now, strong bull vibe trend still intact here on MRO. Okay, now the other one that we always look at is the trend rider. And I've had a lot of emails on questions about the two and the differential and how they differentiate the indicators we use and so forth. Trend rider is designed to capture more explosive moves. Let me go into one of these that was a little bit earlier this week. Wow, what a reversal today on BVN. So this was one of my top three from earlier in the week, and this is exactly what I was looking at. So the indicators we use is the RSI and then what's called the Bollinger Band width. Okay, the Bollinger Band width. Okay. For a trend rider, we're looking for stocks where, let me zoom in. I'm not going to, I won't zoom in because I'll knock out the indicators. The perfect signals are when the when the RSI is breaking through 50, right? And I can draw that up. Got to push the right buttons down here. So you can see where the RSI was doing on that day right there, and you come down here and just off your screen, you can see, and I'll just zoom in on that for you. The Bollinger Band width here was rising about that time. So you've got the Bollinger Band width rising. Now what the Bollinger Band width rising means, it simply means the bands are expanding. It doesn't point the direction the stock's going to go. It just means the bands are expanding. When the line is falling, it means that the bands are contracting. So if you got a falling Bollinger Band width, the bands are contracting. When it's rising, they're expanding. As bands contract, they tend to be levels of support and resistance. As bands expand, the price can move with the bands. Okay, they're not necessarily going to be support or resistance for it. Okay. And so that was a beautiful looking setup. Price target was right around the $11.5 to $12 area, and I said 12. I mean, if you look at it, yeah, 11.5, but to me, this zone right below here, anywhere in that zone, I'd be looking to get out because there could be some support coming in right here. And today's in a very bearish turnaround, but I don't know if I'd hold it even after today's action. That's strongly bearish. I don't know if I'd hold it much longer. This level of support right there. If I had a nice profit on it, I'd probably just get out. Okay, pretty scary if you were in it this morning with a nice gain, but it still would have been locked in a gain for you. That's what we're looking at. Contracting bands. I mean, bands that are really tight. So we go over to Apple, and we can see one setting up. We got the tight bands. And right now, we don't know if this is going to break to the downside and probably go down towards 500, or it's going to break to the upside, and head up there above 530. Above 530, this thing's off and running, probably up to the 550 area, because it's just right in the center. The center band here, the little dotted line that you can see, is a 20-day moving average. And these are just normal settings for the Bollinger Bands. We don't do anything but put the pre-programmed settings in that the inventor of it suggested, Bollinger. So right here, we're going to watch and wait and see which way it goes. The fact that this came down to the lower band right here after hitting the upper band, so there's a good chance that this might head back up. The stocks, a lot of times when they hit the top, they'll go to the bottom, and when they hit the bottom, they can go back to the top. And so it's just flat. It's almost scaringly flat, isn't it? Don't see Apple that's flat very often. There's going to be a breakout coming, and when it comes, you're going to see a nice move here. The only thing is, which way is it going to go? I'd favor the upside, but you never know. That's just it. You never know. That's why I don't just jump in. I'm going to wait for a little bit more confirmation before I jump into something like that. Okay. All right, everybody. I will be on chat with you the rest of the day. If you have any questions, comments, put those in there. Let's just run over and look at our position one more time. Down 39 cents. Again, technically, nothing here. Expect a little bit of a pullback. Here's resistance from past. We're just right there, holding these levels. Really light volume. Nothing there. Okay. Okay. Have a good day. I'll be back on with my top three in just over an hour from now. About an hour and 15 minutes. I'll be on with the top three. I'll go start putting that together right now. But I'll be on chat with you. If you have any questions, you reach me that way. You can reach me through email as well. It's Carl, and that's with a C at traderminute.com. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye bye.